Welcome everybody. This is 7.1. So today we're going to be talking about graphing using our graphing calculators. So I have two calculators that we're going to go over. First off is the TI. This will work great if you have a TI 83 or 84, any type of version of that. If you're looking for the the Casio, I'll have a second video for that. Okay. So you will need to have a graphing calculator for this unit. If you do not have one, you can still rent from the school, or you can buy or borrow from a friend or a neighbor. So if you have any questions, please come and talk to me. If you're going to get something that's not a TI or a Casio, please come and talk to me before you buy, because you might end up buying something that won't work. So anyways, so here we go. If we're going to graph, you want to have your graphing calculator out, and everything that you're going to want to do is in y equals. But before we do that, we're going to want to reset everything. So we'll go to second, and then plus does the memory, and we're going to clear the memory. So we'll have to push 7 for reset, 1, which is all RAM, and then 2 will reset. Okay, so that will make it so that we're all at the same place. If you didn't, then it might look a little different when we get to graphing. Okay, so second plus 712 will clear reset your calculator. Okay, so now let's get to graphing. So first off, we're going to want to push y equals. So again, it's right here. Some of your calculators might, if you're renting from the school, sometimes this is used so many times that it's rubbed off. So you'll just have to, hopefully that's not you, but if it is, it's just right here. Okay, so then we're going to want to enter in our equation. So we already have the y equals, it's right here. And all of these, you can graph multiple equations all at one time. We're just going to be focusing on graphing one. So if you need to find a variable, it's always going to be this button right here, the x with a t, x, t, theta, n. So these are like your variables that we usually use in math. So we'll push that first, and then to square is right over here. So we'll push that, and then plus 3x minus 12. So we'll just type it in just how it looks, and then when you're done, we're going to push graph. So it's just right here at the very top right, and we should see this. Okay, so if we resetted our calculator, everyone should look exactly like that. Okay, so next up is the window. So sometimes our graphs might not be, they might be too big or they might be too small, and we need to change that so that we can see it better. So here we can't see the vertex. It's down here somewhere, and we need to see that because that's one of the things that we're going to need to calculate. So to change that, we'll click on window, so it's right next to your y equals. And then we have our x min and x max. That's how far to the left and right your window goes. And then down here we have y min and y max. That's how low and how high. So we want to go down to y min, and we want to change that to maybe negative 15. So now it's negative 15. We can push enter, and I guess you don't need to push enter, and then we'll push graph. So now we can see it with the window changed. So again, looking at that, this is our x min, this is our x max, this is our y min and our y max. Okay, so we needed to make that y min lower. So we made that be negative 15 so we can see that vertex better. Okay, so then we would sketch a little sketch here. You don't need to be anything like super exact when we do these sketches, but more or less like those key features. We want to make sure we maybe label the x-intercepts and the y-intercept and the vertex. If you can label that when you do a sketch, then that's great. Okay, so now we're using our graphing calculator to find all of this information. So we're going to start with the vertex. If we need to find the vertex, we need to find any of this information, it's all here in calculate, right here in blue. If we need to access something that's in blue, we need to push second. So we'll push second, trace, we'll calc, and these are your options. These are all the things that we can calculate. So if we're trying to find the vertex is either a minimum or a maximum. So if we go back on that graph, we have a minimum. So we'll want to do minimum here. So we'll choose 3. You can also scroll down like this and push enter, or you can just push 3. It'll go straight to that, okay? And then we just need to make sure we read the instructions. So this is kind of the tricky part, is reading the instructions, all right? So first off, it says left bound. Well, what does that actually mean? It means we want to see how we have this little cursor. It's kind of hard to see here, but if I move it, you can see it move. And here it's kind of hidden, okay? So there's a little cursor. It says we want to choose this point to be left of our vertex. You know what, to change, I'm going to go back to that window and I'm going to make it be -20 just so we can see it a little better. Okay, so it's not like in the way. So second, trace is calculate, and then we'll choose minimum. So now we can see it a little better. So our vertex is about here, but that's not like exact. So we're going to calculate it. So again, we'll go left, left bound. So we'll want to push enter somewhere left of your vertex. And you'll see this little triangle that's saying that's the left bound. And then we're gonna, now it says right bound. So we'll go over to the right. Anywhere that's right of it, it doesn't need to be far away from the vertex. You could even do it like even closer. You could put it here, that's still right of that vertex. So that's kind of like our left and right bounds. And we're just going to want to calculate somewhere between there is a minimum value, the lowest number, okay? So it asks you to find a guess. So we'll put our cursor to where we think it is, and it will calculate, and this is what it gives you is the minimum. So our minimum is, or our vertex, we could say this is our vertex. Our vertex is -1.5, comma, -14.25. And we'll want to write that down here, okay? So our minimum is that -14.25, and this would be like the x value that goes with that minimum, okay? Sometimes we call that the axis of symmetry, okay? All right, so again, if we're vertex, we'll go second, trace. We'll go to either minimum or maximum, depending on what the graph looks like. For here we did minimum, and then we'll do left bound, so just somewhere left of that vertex. Make sure you pushed enter. Right bound, enter, and then our guess, enter. All right, next off is our y-intercept. So again, there's instructions here to help if you need to, but we're just gonna go over it, okay? So if you're trying to find the y-intercept, we have really 2 choices here. So here I'm going to give you the first choice. See, we can go second, trace, just like we did before, and we're going to choose value. So if we're trying to find a value, we just want to plug in an x value that would give you the y-intercept. So what would x have to be to give us the y-intercept? So again, it has to, the y-intercept's right here. So that means that the x value has to be 0. That's why there's like a little 0 there, okay? So we'll push 0, enter, and then that ends up giving us our y. So our y-intercept would be 0, -12. Okay, make sure you write it as an ordered pair. Another way to do this is you can just push trace, and when you push trace, then that's the thing I don't like about this, is it doesn't show like where you can have the x equals, but we can type in 0. It will put that up, and we get that as well. So I would probably encourage you just to go second, trace, value, just because that's where everything else is. Put in 0, equal, that's our y-intercept. Okay, next off is a random point. If you're trying to find a random point, we do the exact same thing as the y-intercept. So we'll go second, trace, value, so number 1, and just going to put in the x value. So x equals 7, so we'll put 7, and we get 7 comma 58. Sorry, for me it's a little blurry. Okay. All right, so again we did second, trace, enter for value, and then we plug in 7. Okay. All right, next off is x-intercepts. Okay, x-intercepts, again we go second trace, and then in this time we're trying to find where y is equal to 0. Okay, that's our 0. So our x-intercepts are our zeros, so you might want to make a little note on that. Okay, so we do calc, and then 0, number 2, okay, push enter, and it gives you the same instructions as you did with the vertex, left bound, right bound, guess. So there's 2 x-intercepts, we're going to have to do those individually. So let's maybe start with the left. We need to find a point that is left, sorry, where am I at? Sometimes you can't see where you're at because it's outside of your window. See, so like mine would have had this cursor up, way up here, and you can tell that it's where it's at because it says x equals 4 and y equals 18 because it's way up here. Okay, so we need to go over until we can see it. You can even hold. Makes it go a little quicker than tapping. Okay, so that's left of that x-intercept. We'll push enter. Now it says right bound, so we need to move that cursor so that it's right. It's also below, it doesn't really matter, we just want something that's right of it. And now you see these 2 arrows is like are sandwiching that x-intercept, and then our guess about right there. So that's one of our x-intercepts would be negative 5.27. So we're going to round to the hundredths place, comma 0. Okay, so we'll write that there. And then we'll need to find the other one as well. So we'll need to do it all over again. So second trace, and we'll go to 0. Left bound, so now we need to move this all the way. Again, you can hold it. I don't know why I'm not doing that. So this is left of that. So it doesn't have anything to do with it being above or below that x-axis. It's just left and right. So here's right, and then my guess. So there would be my other x-intercept. So 2.27, comma 0. All right, next off is table. So if we're trying to find a table, over here in blue, it says table. So if we need to access something in blue, we'll have to do second graph, does the table. And here is a table of all those points. So looking at this, you can kind of see if we go low enough, that here you can kind of see that this would be our vertex because it's symmetric. Sorry, no, that's not our vertex. The vertex is somewhere between, right? We know it's, I think we calculated it here, it was like negative 1.5 comma something. So it's somewhere between, and it is symmetric. So one thing that looking at your table, it's not gonna always look symmetric because your vertex could be in a really weird spot, and these just count by ones, and so it might be hard to see by just looking at the table like what the vertex would be, or, oh, sorry, there we go, my light went off. Okay, so then we can just fill in all of this information. So at -2, we could type in or write down -14. At -1, it's -14. At 0, it's -12. At 1, it's -8. At 2, it's -2. And then at 3, it's 6. So we can just copy that from our graphing calculator, okay? And then our last example, if we go back to graph, so if you'll push graph here, It wants us to repeat problem 7, so that's where we just did a random point, where x equals 11. So if we go second trace, and we want to just do a random value, and we type 11, you're going to find out that it's going to give you an error, okay? Invalid. So the reason why you get this error is if we go back to this graph, if we go to go-to, it's saying that 11 won't work. Why? Because 11, this window only goes from -10 to 10. That's our x min and max. 11's not on your graph. So that's where you get this error. We need to go to window, and we need to change that y max so that it would at least include 11. So you could do 11, you could do 12, you could do 20, something as long as that 11 is part of your window. So if we go back to graph, and we do that same steps, second trace, and we do, was it value? And we type in 11, now it works because 11 is part of that graph of your window. So we can write down 11, 142. Okay? All right, last thing, we're just going to go and do an example. Let's maybe do 2, and we're going to find all this information a little quicker this time. So if we go to y equals, if we need to change this equation, we'll just push clear, and we'll need to type this down. So some of your graphing calculators with a TI, you might be able to do it like a fraction. Sometimes you can't, okay? So here I'm just going to do it without using this where you do, what is it, alpha y equals. You can choose it so it looks like a fraction. If you can do that, great. If not, then we'll just use some parentheses. So we'll do negative, parenthesis, 1 divide 3, close parenthesis. So that's how we could do a fraction without using like the fraction button. Okay, and then we'll do x squared plus 8/3. Okay, maybe we should put a parenthesis around that, 8/3. And then x minus 7/3. So 7 divide 3. Okay, so you can type it in that way if you prefer. I think it's probably a little easier just to do it like that, I think. So anyway, so we can graph it. So remember that we're using the previous graph. Sometimes we'll need to change our window. Here it looks like we're probably okay. Maybe we'll do the first example just so you can see something that wouldn't work, but you might need to change your window bigger or smaller, okay? So now we need to find the vertex. Again, we'll do second trace to get calculate, and we'll want to choose for this one, it was a maximum, so we'll want to choose maximum. Follow the instructions, left bound, so this is left of the vertex. Use the cursor to get to the right, push enter, and our guess, enter, and there we go. So our vertex is 4, 3, okay? Axis of symmetry, again, your axis of symmetry is just your x for your vertex, so x equals 4. Direction of opening, it is opening down. Max or min, we have a maximum at 3. Y-intercept, again, to find the y-intercept, we will do second trace value, and we're just going to plug it when x equals 0. So that will give us our y-intercept. So 0, negative 2.33 if we round to the hundredths. X-intercepts, again, we'll have to do this twice. Second trace, and we want 0. 0 is our x-intercepts. So left bound. So again, we have 2 here. We'll do this one first, I guess. So this is left of that x-intercept, this is right of that x-intercept, and our guess. So make sure we push enter every time we do that. So we have one at 1, 0, and then we'll need to repeat second trace, choose 0, and we'll need to go over to the other side. So left, that's left of that x-intercept, right of that x-intercept, and our guess. So our other one is 7, 0. And then coordinate point when x equals 6. Again, we'll do second trace, just the same as the y-intercept, and we'll do value, and we want to put in x equals 6, enter. Okay, so again, this is a point, they're asking for a point, so we would do 6, 1.67 if we round to the hundredths place. And then the last thing is the table. So again, we'd go to second graph, we'll do the table, and then we can just copy this information, okay? And if you can't see some of the x values, we can just scroll up or down to see what you're looking for, okay? All right, if you have any other questions, let me know. I'll have that first one, if I can show you that right there. That will be on, like, filled in on Canvas if you want to give that a try. If you have any other questions, please let me know, and we'll see you later.